Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tips and Tricks Tuesdays with me, Valentina Vee. I am a filmmaker in Los Angeles. I direct, shoot, and edit videos, campaigns, shows for various brands and individuals all over the world. I've worked with Nike, AT&T, Adobe, Discovery, and I'm very excited about today's topic, which is how to make episodic content or shows that span many, many episodes. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that we do have a guest and we have a lesson at the end. And if you are interested in the lesson, definitely stick around. You don't even need to take any notes because I have all the notes provided for you over here at this link, adobe.ly/tipstuesday. So you can go ahead and go to that link right now and download the notes. Also, at that link, you will be able to access the opportunity to get 12 months of free Adobe Creative Cloud. So sign up to, for a chance to win free Creative Cloud, which is great because it's a big value. Also, I'm in Los Angeles and I have been having internet issues for months now. I had the Wi-Fi Ethernet guy come in finally last week, so we should be good. But in case we are not good and something happens, not to worry. As long as you are on the Adobe Care YouTube channel, it will pop back with a new stream. The same thing on the Adobe Video Facebook page. So in case it pops off, we'll pop back on again. I will not let this stream die without finishing my lesson. I'm very dedicated to that cause. Before we go on, how are you? If you can see me, if you can hear me, give me a little emoji of an apple in the chat room so that I know that you can see me and you can hear me before we get into it. Looks like we have, and like, tell me where you're from. Looks like we have some people both in the Facebook chat and in the YouTube chat. I'm monitoring both of them. We have Tony Ruhonen from Facebook tuning in here. We have Pete Tomkeys, hello, on the YouTube chat. All right, looks like I'm getting some apples, which means that you can hear me. Some Granny Smith and some Red Delicious. Awesome. Well, without further ado, I would love to introduce my guest for today. I think he might be frozen though on the other end because I don't see him. So let me disconnect and reconnect him so that I make sure that he's not frozen. He has popped out for just a second. I think he was frozen. So we're going to bring him in just a second as soon as he reconnects. Again, the internet, what you gonna do? But joining me today, we have Andrew Gunadie, who goes by Gunnarolla. He is an OG YouTuber. He has been in the game forever, seen every YouTube wave, and now he's working with major brands and making shows for them, which is why I asked him to join us here today. So hello, Gunnarolla, what's up?
Hello, am I here?
You are here.
I am here. You know what? I looked at my watch earlier and it said 0101. I was like, oh, that might be a bad omen. I was having some connectivity issues, but I think they're resolved now.
You look good and you sound good.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I kind of introduced the show that you do a little bit, but I wanted you to be the person who really introduces it, Nom Voyage. So,
Right. So
could you please tell us what that's about?
I produce a show. I produce and host and do some editing on a show called Non Voyage. It's our original concept. It started on Travel Channel and now it's on HGTV. It's a digital show where we explore all the bites worthy of a flight. So in our first episode, we actually looked exclusively at airport dining. We traveled to San Francisco, Chicago. We did Atlanta, Charlotte, LAX. And we just kind of gave people a glimpse into the best places and the most exciting places to dine in the airport, which is good if you're the type of person who likes to get to the airport early or you have a layover and you're just looking for a good meal. Second season, we looked at some theme parks. We went to Harry Potter World, and we looked at just iconic dining in cities. We went to Detroit. We looked at some unique meals. There's a really cool thing called there's a chili in Cincinnati, and have you had it?
I haven't been to
No.
Cincinnati before,
Yeah,
no.
look it up. It's pretty distinct, but they love it there, and we loved kind of exploring the local dining scene there. So yeah, it's a food travel show, and we have a lot of fun.
Have you always been a foodie? Have you always been interested in this topic?
You know what? It's funny because my I don't come from like a culinary background, and my family we love our fast food. We eat pretty simply. It wasn't until I started traveling internationally that I kind of thought about exploring more of what there is out there. I love to eat. I love different types of cuisines. I love to try different things. So yeah, it was kind of a natural thing that evolved from the fact that I was traveling so much and just wanted to explore.
I always have, I've done a couple of food segments on my travel show that I direct and
Mhm.
host, Moments in Time with Elia Lacardi. And I feel like the most difficult thing about food segments is the reaction, like the immediate
Mhm.
reaction after you've eaten the food, because you have to think of descriptive words to say, to convey it to the audience. And a lot of times, if it's someone who maybe it's your first time like eating food on camera, you just go, hmm,
Mm.
good. It's
Good.
good. And there's other descriptors that you could say. Have you sort of learned not only, what to say on camera, but how to shoot it, or how to do the production specifically of a food series
Yeah.
since you've started?
Well, one thing we don't realize is in a lot of commercials, a lot of where they're trying to really sell you food, that's not edible food. It looks great, but they do a lot of things to it just to make it look pretty. On our show, we actually have to eat the food, so we have to balance how to make it look good, how to light it. We work with an amazing cinematographer, Mike Panganiban, how to kind of get capture different angles, and then also how to react to it. I think I've definitely improved over time taking your first bite and reacting in a really authentic way, but that's conveys your excitement is hard. It's something you have to learn. When I first started doing this, I remember my first gig. I would just use terms that didn't make the food sound appetizing. I'd be like, you can really taste the salt. It's like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? So, we feature a different co-host on our episodes, and we kind of, we work with them to coach them on how to talk about the food. I think it's always great to relate it to something that people know, or relate it to a feeling or an experience, and really just, showing that you're excited about the food in a way that people can understand, but that also is authentic. So that's definitely something you learn.
There's also not just like the reaction to it, but the production element of showing the food, right? You have to
Hmm.
show it in a way that is cinematic, and that may not necessarily be under the same exact lighting conditions or on the same table that the restaurant will maybe put you at. Is there anything you think about when you enter into a restaurant or a spot that you're
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, I know that we have to place the food here, and I have to stand here because of this. Like, what are the thoughts
Yeah.
that are going through your head when you enter?
Yeah. So that's why it's really important for us to do a location scout when we can. A lot of the time, especially if we're shooting in an airport, we don't have time. We're shooting 5 restaurants in a day. So it's a luxury to be able to get into a space beforehand to ask those questions. Again, I love our cinematographer, our DP, Mike Panganiban, because he has that eye. Natural lighting we always favor. We travel pretty leanly too. We have very compact lighting. We use a little dolly, but I think we just make do with what we have, and a lot of it does come together in how we edit the show.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because editing a series is much different than editing just a simple video. First of all, the organization of the files is huge.
Yeah.
How do you organize your files just from, talk to me about it from like just getting them off the camera.
Yeah. Well, we again, my DP is based in LA and I'm based in Toronto. So oftentimes we will have a shoot from, let's say, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And right after that, we are offloading the footage onto a drive and making copies of it. We just try to we try to be more mindful of the fact that we don't want to create a mess after the fact. So when we are shooting, I'm making mental notes of, important scenes that we've captured. We're making sure that, our A cam and B cam, we're very mindful of who's on what camera, and we have a separate little device just to capture, the food beauty shots.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, just staying organized as much as you can during the production makes the editing process so much easier. We also work with an editor, so that person is not necessarily on set and doesn't have full knowledge of everything that we've shot. So I'll prepare notes and say, this how we're going to structure the episode. These are some key moments, and then we leave it to the editor to kind of review and piece things together.
So like a paper edit for the
Yeah, we definitely
editor.
do a paper edit. Again, it's about staying organized. We're working on very tight timelines for shooting, and also very tight timelines for getting this content out there.
Yeah, I did a show last year for actually the state of Kentucky. I'm really, really into
Yeah,
tourism and I
yeah.
love doing travel shows. So I did one for the state of Kentucky. And for that one, we actually had an incredibly tight turnaround to do. It was
Hmm.
just a few weeks. We had to deliver
Yeah,
6 episodes. So we had to split it up into two editors who weren't me as well.
yeah,
So neither of the two editors were there on site. So I did have to deliver paper edits. And there is some also walking the editor through or
hmm,
making sure that you check in with the editor and give notes
yeah,
because you want the whole series to be cohesive in the way that it's edited. Is there
yeah.
anything in Non Voyage specifically that you look at and you say, like, okay, all the b-roll has to be in slow-mo, or you have to, all the footage has to be stabilized, so you have to throw a stabilizer on everything, or all of the graphics have to be a certain way, like at the top right corner or something.
Mhm.
Are there though, is there that editing style guide that you have or that you have developed over time?
Yeah, so we're really lucky that we're producing the show with Discovery, and they have somebody on their team that developed a graphics package and kind of a style guide. So in terms of our graphic assets and text treatments, that's all standardized. Our music library, I think a lot of the feeling of a series comes through in the music that you use, and with all the productions that I have worked on, whether they've been for brands or just on my own, I tend to lean more toward like kitschy, retro, funnier tracks, not the typical like lo-fi tropical house. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I think that definitely the music that you select and that you use uh, creates a different feeling and helps your content to stand out. So we spend a lot of time kind of selecting tracks and making sure that we pull from the same library. And just if with this show, I'm lucky that I am one of the editors and I'm overseeing the post production process. When I get the cut back from our, if I'm not editing that episode, I have that final stamp on it. So maybe we'll tighten up the pacing a bit. And then we also have one person color grading. It's not me because I'm not good at that stuff. But once we've kind of locked picture, we'll send it over to get it colored, and that also adds cohesiveness to it, because ultimately you don't want people to watch the series and feel like, oh, this doesn't feel the same, or you can tell somebody else edited it. And I feel like when you watch the show, it looks like it was the same team.
Yeah, that's important. It's something that if everybody watching wants to go and look at, we did an episode of this Tips and Tricks Tuesdays with the
Yeah.
editors at World of Wonder who do the show with Trixie Mattel and Katya,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, yeah.
they split up the episode. They have two editors working on the same episode, and they split up into
Mhm.
half, and they have a
Yeah.
style guide. And I feel like that's even more complex than having different editors on different episodes as well,
Yeah.
or to like have an editor start with the rough cut and then maybe you finish it or however
Yeah.
you do it. Before we go on, I just want to ask if there's any questions in the chat room, please do leave them and I will ask them right away. So yeah, definitely ask in the chat room. We have Carl, who asks any challenges getting permissions to film any airport or any tips with with getting permission to
Woo!
film.
Listen, I feel like I could write a book on getting permissions to shoot at airports. So I've shot at 8 airports to date. Every airport has had a different process. Airports are like cities within cities. They have their own set of rules. I haven't really encountered a situation where the airport didn't want to work with us because they know how valuable this content is. But I would say, if you have a body of work that you can show, that helps. The very first two episodes that I did of this series, I did on my own without a budget, without any plan to make it into a series. I just did it because I thought it was a great idea, and I was personally interested in it. So, when we approach airports, we say, well, this is what the series looks like. And they let us know kind of the requirements. Often you need to have an escort. You can't just be roaming in an airport without a boarding pass. The TSA has their own set of rules. So we have to get everybody security checked in advance. It's a very, very long process, but luckily the airport teams have worked with us on that. So that, yeah, I don't want to get into too many specifics just because every airport has their own rules, but yeah, you can't just go into an airport and shoot there. Even what we learned with restaurants also, you can't just build a normal restaurant in an airport. There are so many different requirements in terms of the equipment that they have in there. Even we were going through security once and we saw tomatoes going through security. Like nothing gets into an airport without multiple layers of security. So yeah, I would say just reach out, have a good plan of what you want, have a body of work to prove that you know what you're doing, and have some way that the airport can benefit from it.
I know that airports are just one piece of, the overall cuisine picture. And then the cuisine picture itself is just an overall piece of everything that you do. Is there
Yeah.
anything that is kind of on your wish list that you want to get into to film, or a place that you haven't been yet, or a food you haven't tried yet that you're like, you know what? Let me make this happen. I mean, for me, I wanted to go to South Korea so badly
Yeah.
that I literally made it work. So on the tail end of my last shoot, I was close enough to South Korea that I could just like take a mini
Tuck
vacation
it in
after my
there.
shoot.
I mean, I want to go to South Korea just because they have wonderful COVID response to the pandemic right now. It seems they have that under control. But when it comes to my travel destinations, I tend to go back to places that I've already been just because I love to see how they evolve. So I'm always going back to Taiwan, always going back to Japan. I love traveling even domestically within the U.S., Canada. There's tons within Canada. I wouldn't say that I don't know that I have a bucket list, like a place that I really want to go that I haven't been already. Um, just anywhere that's new and exciting. And I think part of why I love my job is that I love going into somewhere that maybe people even didn't think to go, and finding out what is cool about there, what's good about that place. So yeah, that's a very vague answer, but
No, I think it's actually good because a lot of people are not as lucky as you and I to get to be able to travel around the world, to get to be able to try all this stuff. And a lot of
mhm,
times the things that are on your bucket list could be unattainable in the near future. So something
mhm.
that I tell a lot of people is you have to find worthiness and joy where you're at. No
It's
matter
so true.
what job you're doing currently, find a way to make it work for you. Find a way to make it interesting for you. When I
Yeah.
was doing primarily makeup videos, I don't necessarily care about makeup, but I care about production quality. So
Mhm.
I was all about, okay, how do we make this like the best makeup video ever? How do we increase the production quality so that people say, like, wow, this is a really cool makeup video. So I think it's important, even if you are just starting out, just like you did with your first couple of videos where you didn't have a network behind you,
Mhm.
make it worth your while. And if you're passionate enough about it, and if you really want to like make a thing, then people will follow, or people will understand the vision.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so cliche, but it totally is about the journey because some people get so focused on the destination and the goal that they think they need to achieve that it's just they don't enjoy the process and they miss out on other opportunities that maybe could have taken them in a different direction. Because if you trace my career, I did not start in food and travel. I started as a video blogger. I was doing music videos. And, in doing that, I realized maybe I'm chasing someone else's goal of like trying to create the biggest YouTube channel, and I'm just so creatively drained from making um this art, and it wasn't appreciated in the way that I wanted it to be. So I kind of had to you know redefine what success meant to me, and it wasn't about being the most popular or, the richest person. It was about having those experiences. So that led me to food and travel. And food and travel is something that I can treat like a job, but that I absolutely love. And I could not see myself doing anything else.
Well, Andrew, you are just the loveliest person to talk to, and I want to thank you for being on this show. I ran a little long because I had so much fun chatting with you, and I hope to just continue chatting with you again. But for now, if people want to check out your work and your show, where can they go do that?
So my socials are all Gunnarolla, Gunnarolla. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all those things. And Nom Voyage you can actually find on Travel Channel and HGTV's website. They're also on the Facebook page. And hopefully once we get, once we can travel and eat in restaurants again comfortably, then we can resume production on that show.
Well, fingers crossed. And thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that was our chat with Gunnarolla. I had so much fun. Definitely check out Nom Voyage and check out his YouTube channel as well. So now I'm going to just pop over to my computer, if you'll give me a second. This is live. And we'll chat about a few of the ways that I edit when I edit series. Some tricks that you could do and some ways that you can make it easier for yourself organization-wise. You can also find the manual for this at adobe.ly/Tips Tuesday. This will give you pretty much, everything that you need to know as far as what I'm teaching you today and how I do things. So the first thing that I'd like to show you is my paper edits. So this is when I have a show that I'm directing or that I'm shooting, but I'm not the one editing it. So this is how I deliver a paper edit to the editor. And this is what a paper edit looks like. So they are all here on my Google Drive. Give me a sec. Okay, there we go. And if you go into, let's see, any of these, let's go into horse country, for example, you can see the way that I've formatted my paper edit for the editor. So I have the time here. So how long is this going to take? What the visuals are from that segment, what the audio is, and then any notes as well. So this is a way that because I had two editors on this show, right? And I needed them to be able to have a cohesive show so that it looked like it was just one person editing. So we'll do little breaks here in that I have the segments over here, and then I have the transition bits over here. And the transition bits have the audio in them. So that is what the voiceover is saying, which I've written. And then we have notes for each of the interview segments where I'll take notes and I'll say, keep this in, focus on this. And then anytime they talk about this, cut it out. We don't want that. So a paper edit is just something that is really, really useful for you to make for an editor, or if you're an editor, for you to ask from your director, because that way you're not wasting time doing a bunch of editing that you're never going to use ever again. But even while you're waiting for the paper edit, there are things you can do, like make string outs, which I'll show you in a second here. So let's get into kind of what my organization looks like here on my computer. So this is what my hard drive looks like. It's a 16 terabyte hard drive for this show that I did called Moments in Time. And you can see the way that it's organized here. I have my, hold on. My zoom tool is just going to act up, isn't it? If I zoom in, there we go. So I have my assets. Every time I do it, it's going to be weird, huh? I have my assets, then I have my Premiere Pro folder, my After Effects folder, my graphics exports folder, audio, sound effects, export stills, etc. So everything is also numbered so that it stays in order. And this particular order of things, I actually have a dummy folder on my computer where that same organization is there. So when I can just copy paste the dummy folder and the dummy organization over every single time I have a new project. So you can see here on my new drive, what I've done is the way that I've organized it is the date underscore what it is, And then each one has the footage, audio, graphics, whatever in order. And then each one of those has like cam A, B, and C, et cetera, et cetera. For a giant show like Moments in Time, where I spanned 10 different countries, several different months, the way that I did it, if we'll just go into my assets folder for a second here, double click my assets folder, is everything is organized by the day, the location, and then the particularities of that day. So for example, 1903-18, we were in Singapore in the film lab. 1903-19, we were in Singapore and we did the interview with Mindy. The 20th was a transit day, and that way I know that I don't actually have any audio for that. That was just all B-roll, etc., etc. So this is kind of how I organized. Got to get it back here. This is kind of how I organized every single folder. And then if you go into the folder, what we have are the same. Let's actually go into the one that says day one. Yeah. So each folder has subfolders that are also numbered, and I have footage, audio. Then I have a copy of the audio just in case. So what I do, the reason that I copy the audio is that sometimes when you're editing audio, you might edit destructively. You might accidentally save some sort of audio correction on top of your original audio, and then your original audio is gone. You can't refer back to it. So I just like to make a copy of my audio. This is my original audio, and I don't touch it. It's just there just in case I need it. And then any photos from the day. So if you go into the footage folder, as you can see, each of these is actually has the date on it, has the same underscore what the focus of the day was, which is the same as the folder that it's in right here. So the actual file is named that. And then the name of the file is actually based on what camera was shooting it. So here we see it's a T3. So that means this was like the third camera, camera C, right? If we go into, let's say, a different one, like this one, this actually has a bunch more cameras, and you can see that they all have different names based on, we have T3, we have T1 over here. So they have different ones based on what camera was being used. That way, personally, I could either have done all of the cameras in their own folders, in their own subfolders, like camera A, camera B, camera C. But because I had so much footage, it was easier for me to just input that metadata in the cameras themselves so that the camera would just, give me a name of what that is. Now, let's say, for example, that your camera does not have built-in metadata. So your camera, you can't write what it is in the camera. It just always pushes out the same names. Every time you reformat your card, it says C001, for example. So here we have something like this. So this is a shoot that I just did over the weekend. And here under footage, I have separated it into camera folders. I've separated into days, so day one, and then the different cameras, because if we open up, for example, the A7R2 camera, you can see that it's just C001, C002, C003. So they're not unique names, so I've separated them. However, when I put them into my editing software, they will still not be in the unique names. And when you have a giant file with lots and lots of things to search for, if you want to find a particular clip from a particular day, it helps to rename every single file based on what you shot with that day. So for example, these files right here, they are in the 2020-1206 moment folder. They are day one and they are A7R2. And I want to put all of that information into the file name. So I'll go ahead into this program that's called Adobe Bridge, yeah. And I'll go and find them here in my organization. So I'll go into day one, A7R2. So here are those files right here. And I will batch rename them. So I'll select all of them, give it a second. Usually when I'm streaming, it takes a little bit more of the CPU away from me. I'll select all of them. I'll go to right click and I'll go to batch rename. It'll pop up this folder and I can now add little intros to them. So for this one, I will say I would want 2020 what was it? 2020-11-06 is the date. Then the next text that I want to do, because that's already day one, so I don't need to write day one. So I'll just write, what will I write? It is in the footage. It is in day one. Oh, the camera, right? A7R2. And then underscore, and then the current file name. I'll keep the current file name the same. And you can see here in the preview, it tells you that this is going to be your new file name. So this is your current file name over here, and this will be your new file name. And it says 10 files will be processed, because I'm also processing the XML files that come with it. So I think it might have frozen. Okay, there we go. How's my CPU? CPU's doing good. So that's good. I'm going to click rename, and it is going to rename all those files for me and literally change the names of the files. So now you can see that it's changed the names of the files. Now I'll go back to the day one folder, and I'll select the files from the other camera, A7S2. And luckily the A7S2 files, already I was able to input that metadata, right? Because it's a newer camera. So I was able to write the metadata, but the metadata is not in the same format that I want it to be, because even though it has the date on it, it says _V, right? And I want it to say _ A7S3. So I'm going to select all of it. I mean, I don't have to do this, because even if it says V, it's already, A7S3. And I could say, let's see, one sec. This may not be able to do this. One sec. Maybe not. Hold on. Let me get back here. No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll just move on. So, yeah, so you get it. That's how you rename the files from each day. So that's kind of what I did here in when I did my show. Is I did assets. These are all the assets. Now look at how far they stretch, right? They stretch from 1903-12 to 1905, and then we also did a bunch of shooting in December as well. So when you have something that big, how do you organize it? How do you bring it into your project? Well, I'll show you how I brought it into my project at first, and then I'll show you oh, did it say replace? Hold on. Maybe I didn't notice. Mark says replace. There's also a program called Renamer that I use as well. No, there's batch rename. There's yeah. Okay. Doesn't matter. So, I have all of these, organized into folders now. It's super, super easy to organize all that. So let's go into Premiere Pro and see how I organized it here in my actual project. And the reason that I did it in a way that I don't actually love is because I didn't do it as a production. Because at the time I didn't know about productions. Sometimes you learn about things later and it helps you in your processes. And sometimes you overload your projects. What do I mean by overloading my projects? Well, let's take a look at the Premiere folder and I'll show you what I mean. So here in the Premiere folder, you can see what I did was every time I, made a new episode or like had a new batch of things ready, I just duplicated the Premiere project and created a new Premiere project. But you can see every time I kept working on it, it was increasing in file size until it got so bloated. Over here, you can see it got so bloated, it was almost at 70,000 kilobytes. And so I almost had to drop it down and delete a bunch of footage from the beginning of it, because it was such a big project. It was taking hours to open. So the more that I worked on it, it started with a reasonable amount, and then it just bloated all the way. So to prevent that bloat, what you really need to do is work in productions. But you can also convert a project into a production as well. So let me show you how I did it, to show you how not to do it, and I'll show you then later how to do it. So here's my project. And right here is my are all of my folders in the same exact order as they are on my hard drive. We have assets, sequences, graphics, etc., etc., etc. So let me just make this whole window bigger by pressing the tilde key on the top left of my keyboard, and I'll make it huge. And here in the assets folder, we have, ta-da, all the folders with all of the footage. Now here is error number 1, right? I should not have put all of the footage into the same project, because dropping it into the same project, I'll tell you right now, this project has been opening for a straight up hour and it's still not open. How do I know that it's still not open? Well, here at the bottom, let me see if I can zoom in a way that you can see it. Okay, here at the bottom, you can see that it still says that there are over 5,000 files remaining to be opened, and this has been opening for an hour. So, you know, if you can't open your project in 1 hour, what are you going to do, right? But anyway, so this is how I organized it. Each one of these has a footage and an audio folder that's also been renamed, and each of these has a all of the files, right? Just like that. And I also color coded them by the camera as well. So I know what camera over here, what camera was shooting what file, etc. Which, you know, is great until you start getting into these really bloated projects. But bloating aside, I was able to finish a 13 episode series this way, even though it was the bad way to do it. So let's take a look at how I did my sequences. So in my sequences, I have 3 subfolders. I have episodes, string outs, and trailer. Let's take a look at the string outs. The string outs have folders underneath all of the string outs. Now, what is a string out? This is a lot of people, when they are looking down the barrel of editing a ton of episodes and they have so much footage, and I've gotten this question a lot, is how do you deal with just the mental burden of having to edit that much? And my default answer is make string outs. Just string all your footage out on the same timeline. In the end, it might be 5 hours of footage, but all of your A-roll, just string it out and then just start going through it. Okay, the faster you can go through it, the better. And it's just kind of like rote. It doesn't take much thinking, because when people are starting to edit, you know, their series, they're thinking about, okay, how do I put the segments together? How do I do the transitions? What do I do? Which shot is first? Which shot is second? But because you have so much stuff, it's better to just get through it first. You know, you can always reorganize the segments later. You can always add B-roll footage. You can then start adding music and stuff. But having some sort of pipeline will help you out quite a bit. So for this, if you go into, let's just go into, did I do a string out for that one? I think I might have deleted a bunch of the older string outs just so that they wouldn't, make my project too heavy. Let's find one that hasn't been deleted here. Okay. So what I'll do is I will sync my string outs. So let's do the one that we did in Prague, for example. This is my Prague string out. This is all the footage from that day. So this was an interview. We'll give it a sec because it takes a long time to open. It's still opening. This was an interview that we did with Eric Johansson, I believe his name is, in Prague. And you can see we have camera A and camera B. I synced it up, and camera A is on video track 1, camera B is on video track 2, and this is still opening. That's fun. So a string out is just all of the A-roll strung out together, and then you can start putting that into your episodes and you can start cutting. If this doesn't open, I'm gonna have to open a different one, and it might take a little bit of time. Yeah. If you have any questions for me, by the way, let me know in the comments, because I am reading both your comments on Facebook and on YouTube. Yeah, this is difficult to do live when you're talking about how to edit a big show. I might have to force quit it Just one sec. Also, let me know if you're watching right now what you do for a living or what kind of productions you work on, because I feel like if I know the specifics of what you work on, then I'll be able to kind of customize or tailor my lesson to you specifically. Alrighty. So we're going to open. See, that might happen too, where your project just drops and then you have to open it again, and then that's going to take another hour. So let's open a less bloated project. Let me open it up here so you can see it. So let's go to a project that is a little bit lighter on the footage here. Let's go to Prague. This one. Let's go that one. That should only be 15,000. Hopefully we're still okay. Looks like I got a little error on the Facebook page, so hopefully I'm still streaming and it's okay. We got Daniel on Facebook who does educational documentaries. Marcine on Facebook asks, what tool do you use to highlight the mouse pointer? I use a tool called Pen Attention to highlight the mouse. Fernando's a one-man army for live jazz sessions. Dicey on YouTube says, I edit recorded Twitch streams of tabletop games. Oh, this is going to be very helpful for you. Please do keep watching because this is going to be extremely helpful for you, I think. This froze again. I just opened it and it froze again. It's live. Best Barbecue Show says, I'm creating podcast interviews and vlogs all about Texas barbecue, the best barbecue in the world. Heck yeah, Texas barbecue. That's what's up. We got Garland Thompson Jr., who's a live theater producer and designer, who is commenting over on Facebook. Okay. It froze again. Give it a sec. The problem also is it's probably not going to freeze on you. The problem is that I'm also live streaming to two destinations. So my computer's handling a lot right now. And even though I don't have any other programs open and I closed Bridge, it's still being a little bit picky with it, which is to be expected. By the way, we didn't have a stream last week because of the election in the United States. That means we have 2 streams this week. So I will be actually streaming on Thursday at 11 a.m. My guest will be Amy Tangerine, and I will be doing something I've never done on a live stream before, but I have had requested quite a bit, where it's not like right now where I'm popping through and showing you different things. I'm going to be doing a live edit and talking you through what goes on in my brain as I'm editing. So it should be really interesting. The couple of times that I've done it in the past have all been like when I've been live with people in a room. This is going to be my first time doing it over live stream. So it should be pretty interesting to do. If this'll, I think my computer is just unresponsive, but we'll try it again one more time. Yes, so bonus stream, definitely come on Thursday because it will be something, like I said, that was highly requested. People just want to know how I edit, and honestly, the way that I edit is, I think I can talk through it very well because what goes on in my brain as I'm picking out footage, I've never narrated it live before, like quite in this way, but I will narrate it live for you. Okay, looks like it's opening. Also, just FYI, if you are going to be editing a big series, make sure your computer is up for the task. So my computer here has 128 gigabytes of RAM, and it has the RTX 4000 graphics card from NVIDIA, and it has Intel i9, I believe is the processor. It's very fast is what I'm saying. So, and even then it's hard to handle. So here we go. We are back, baby. We have our sequences folder here. We have our string outs. If we go into the string out that was with our Eric Johansson, here's the synced string out. Here it is. We have, hopefully it won't freeze, but we have video layer 1, which is camera 1. We have video layer 2, which is camera 2. And then I'll go ahead and duplicate this string out and create my first cut or my first draft of the video. So I always keep the synced string out without cutting it as its own sequence, because then, you know, what if I cut something out that I want to refer to it later, but stuff is unsynced? How do I get back to the original thing? You never want to be editing destructively. So it's just easier to, every time you make a different step or a new revision in your project, duplicate the sequence and make sure that it is saved, basically. All right, we gotta restart it. This is fun. Love that. So that's what I do. Basically, first I create a string out of all of the A-roll footage. Then I will duplicate it in order to create the first draft of the first episode. And I will deliver a cut version of the A-roll to the client with caveats. So I'll always write, hey, this is the first episode, but just FYI, it has no color correction, it has no sound mix, it has no B-roll. Don't comment on that stuff because it's not there yet, right? Just comment first, give me comments on stuff like content, right? On the order of segments, etc., etc. So let's go back in. I had to restart this real quick, but we won't even look at it. We won't force Premiere to open it because if it opens it, it starts doing weird stuff. So let's go to, again, the string out for that day. So the Eric string out, and right here says Eric string out synced. We're going to right click it and we are going to duplicate this sequence. So we're going to go to duplicate. So now I have a duplicated sequence. And now I can go ahead and drag this to my regular sequences. And that's where I start working on it. So I will, right here under episodes, right, we have the Prague episode over here. So I will go ahead and drag this into the Prague episode folder. And now I can close my string outs folder. I've already done a couple of passes on it, but let's just say that this is like the first pass, for example. So I'll go ahead and rename it. So right click, rename, and episode 10, and we'll call it Prague. Let's do Prague 0, even though it's technically 1. So I'll open it up and you already saw it. It wasn't cut. I'll go ahead and cut all of that and it'll turn into something that looks like this, where I have colored every single one of these segments into its own color. And I have, I haven't cut it up yet, but I've colored and reorganized the segments. And you can tell that I haven't cut it up yet because the length of this episode is currently at 4 hours long. But this kind of gives me a little bit of an idea of what order the segments are and how much footage I have in them. And then I'll go ahead and cut it up. You see the issue, right? The problem is that I have way too much footage in this project and it is just impossible to open. So how do I solve that? You solve that with productions. Before my brain goes completely mental trying to open this project and live stream at the same time, let me show you how I would have done this had I known that the productions workflow existed. So this is what's up. We'll go back into Premiere Pro as if we are trying to open a project, but instead of opening a project or creating a new project, we're gonna create a new production here. So we're just gonna go to new project. We're gonna browse. we're going to create a new folder here. So I'm going to go to new folder, and it's going to say 11 production. And that's where we'll put this folder, 11 production, select folder. We're going to name this after the episode. So this will be Moments in Time, episode 1, right? Make sure that scratch discs are all the same as the project. Go OK. So the first thing that you do is you kind of create let's go to the default editing workspace over here. So this is what it'll look like. The first thing that you do is you're going to create just a blank project. Now you could just start, if this is you just starting on a brand new project, a brand new show, this is how you would do it. This is also how you would do it if you're trying to bring in existing projects into it. And then we are going to go to File, New, Production up here. So what are productions? Productions is basically like, if you think about this in a way where it's like you have sequences that are going within your project. A production is when projects go within the production. And the point is that now, instead of having an entire project full of episodes, right? Because you're reusing the same assets all the time, right? You're either reusing the same music tracks, you're reusing the same graphics templates, all this stuff you're reusing. So this way you don't have to cram all of your episodes into one project in order to reuse the same assets. You can, in fact, create a new project for every episode. Therefore, the actual project file will not be bloated, and you can reuse assets without having those other episodes even open, right? Because once you're done with an episode, you can just get rid of it. Or you can not get rid of it, but you could just close it up, but still have it in your production, but it's not open on your computer, taking up room, taking up CPU and all that. So we're going to go to File, New, Production, and this is where we're going to make that production. So where it says where, we're going to say, yeah, this folder that we made that says production, that's where we're going to put it. Select folder. And then we're going to title it Moments in Time Season 1, right? So one entire production for the entire season. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to say create. And now we have this one new sort of new window that we can work with. And the first thing that it's asking us is to create a new project. So we are going to call this episode 1 Singapore, right? Even though we can always import it. Oh, it can't contain the, okay. Let's rename it just Ep1 Singapore. There we go. So we have created a new project, and now you can see here in the organization, in the file structure, if we go to the production folder, it has created a new Adobe Premiere project under that, right? Right here, Singapore. Episode 1, Singapore. It's in the production folder. Now, this is if we were creating a completely new project called Singapore. So here we have project episode 1, Singapore. Let me pop this into our, actually, let me go back. Reset to saved layout. We'll go to window, production. There it is. There we go. Cool. So now we can import our media into here, and then we can start working with it. So what I would do is, if I was, again, starting this show over again from scratch, is I would go to my assets folder here. And now that I'm in here, right, I would create a new folder called 01 footage, and then drag the footage from the several days that we had in Singapore. So the transit day, the Singapore day 1, the Singapore meetup, Singapore Peninsula Film Lab, Mindy, and this transit day. So all of those day folders that go into this one episode, I would go ahead and drag inside of the footage folder, which I'm not going to do right now because it's going to take forever to do, but that's what I would do. I would put it inside the footage folder. I would create a new folder here called sequences, to sequences, and then I would start putting sequences in here, like a sequence that is called, or into sequences, I would put a folder called string outs. Then I would put another folder called, finals. And then I would start making new sequences here. So this is Singapore day 1 string out. So basically everything that is related to the Singapore episode, I would make a project about, right? But I would not put anything in there that is like, I wouldn't put a music folder in there. I wouldn't put a graphics folder in there because that is going in a separate project. So I'll go up here to my productions right here, and I will create a new Premiere Pro project, new project, and I will call this music. And that would be the music for all of my episodes, and I'll put it all in the music, in a music project. So here's my music project, and that's where I'll just drop all of everything that I need for music. So maybe I'll do like lo-fi music. I'll do music for, I don't know, groovy music. I actually have several music folders that I can drop in here. So for this, I'll go to audio, I'll go to music, and I have all of these little music folders. So I'll drag them all into here, and that'll create folders for me for the music that I'm using across all of the episodes. This way I do not have to worry about actually dragging music folders and music bins into each and every single one of my projects, my Premiere Pro projects, because I'll just use them across everything. So here's the music folder. I'll make another one right here called graphics. So this will be another project, right? And inside the graphics project, I'll go ahead and put the same graphics assets that I'm constantly reusing over and over and over again. I'll put them in there. So for in the case of this, we have moments in time end card credits. That's a graphic that I'm going to constantly be reusing. Teaser end tag is one that I'm constantly reusing. Let's see here. So let's just do those two for now. So, because I'll always be using that. And then I'll have some other graphics. Let's do, I think it's going to be graphics for trailer, end tag, and so I'll put that in there. I'll put the logos for web that we need. I'll put that in there. And I can organize this how I want. So I'll say logos. I'll put the logos in there. I'll put YouTube assets, and I'll put those in there. End tags. So this is a project that just has graphics, right? You get it? I'm making a project that has nothing but graphics in it. So now that I have this, let's say I want to bring in a project that already exists, right? So you can do that by right-clicking, and instead of going new project, right, doing add project to production. So I'm going to add project to production. And for this one, let's go to my Premiere Pro projects, and I know that, let's do a really light one, Amsterdam 2, let's do that one, Amsterdam 2, and open. And it's going to say that it's going to basically not mess with my original Premiere Pro project that I had. It's going to create a copy, and it's going to put that copy inside of my productions folder. And I'm going to say, that's cool, that's fine, copy it over. And it's going to start copying it over. So again, if I was doing this again, right, if I was remaking my entire project from scratch, my entire series from scratch, I would first make sure that instead of having multiple episodes inside of one Premiere Pro project, I would be making a new Premiere Pro project for each episode within the production's workflow, because then you can do this, right? You can do, so if I open it right now, I have everything open. I can close my music folder here. So I can close the project for music, save changes, yes. I can close the Singapore one. So save, let's see, close project, save changes, yes. I can open the Amsterdam one. Give it a sec. Oh, it needs to locate the files, but this is actually a really good thing that this popped up, because what I want to show you is that it's so much easier to locate files when each of your files has a unique file name, right? Remember, I added unique file names to every single thing that's in my project, right? They're all named for the date, the whatever it is, and then whatever the file name is. So if it happens that something like this happens where you need to relink and relocate, it's fairly easy to do. You just click locate over here. And this can happen a lot when you're working with so many files, right? And it's going to ask, okay, where is this? Oh, this is actually probably on another drive. That's why it's not here. We're just going to click cancel, and we're just going to offline all those and then skip all that. I actually had to plug in another drive at some point, but doesn't matter. And it froze because there's too much going on. Sure. Yeah, but basically, you get it. Apologies for my computer just like not being able to handle the CPU load, but honestly, I would rather keep this live stream from completely crashing and going down, and so I'd rather like have a steady stream on the live stream than be able to do this, because the important part is that productions are really what you want to work with when you're working across different projects and across different episodes. So I'm out of time here. I hope this helped. I do have another live stream on Thursday, which will not be this glitchy because I'm not trying to open up giant projects for you. I am actually going to be going through an edit start to finish. So I'm going to be editing a DIY video for you start to finish, and you will be able to see everything that you need. If you need a guide on productions, as in you need to like brush up on what I just said or how I just did everything, you can go to adobe.ly/tipstuesday, and you can then go and see that it will have this manual that I made where I'm talking about production. So I'm talking about how to organize your footage just the same way I just showed you, how to rename your files with Bridge, batch rename them, and then I explain in depth what productions are, what all of the things mean within the productions folder, how to create one, how to add an existing project to one, and then how to create a mogurt, which we didn't get to, but you can always go on to adobe.ly/tipstuesday, and you can see all of the previous videos that I've made with any specific tips that you may want to get. So whether those tips are about how to edit a particular style of video, like a beauty video or a vlog, or maybe you have a podcast, I have all sorts of tips there. So definitely head over to adobe.ly/tipstuesday and then come back here on Thursday as I show you how I edit a video start to finish. It should be really fun. I'm excited about it. Until then, my name is Valentina Vee, and have a great day. Bye, everybody.